I get shit done, I have fun. It's my time and I'm the one. I'm breaking through.
How do you know if you are I can't speak today. I'm sabotaging myself. So how do you know if you're sabotaging your success? You want to hang around with us today and listen to my guest, Elsa, and me as we talk about that topic. But before we do that, if you're watching this live, great. Thanks for being here. And if you're watching on a replay, just let us know where you're watching it. #replay and subscribe to our YouTube channel. In the meantime, here's a shameless plug from me, my sponsor. So if you're a business owner and or entrepreneur and you have a question for around your business, maybe it's something around time, team, money, or exit strategy, by all means, reach out and happy to have a conversation with you. No credit card required, no money to spend, just a conversation between you and I. And if I'm not the right person, I'm part of a global group of coaches, and I can introduce you to somebody that might have the expertise that you're looking for. If you want to have a look at where you are in terms of your business growth score, there's a place to go do it. And again, it's free. It'll give you some information, give you an idea where you are in your business today, and then you can make plans to move and grow if that's something that you're looking to do and if it's a challenge for you at the moment. Anyway, here we are in the Business Renovator. I'm excited to talk about this topic about sabotaging yourself. When do you know when you're doing that, when you're stopping yourself from success? So one of my guests and friends today joining me is Elsa Johnson. And what we're going to do is talk about that particular topic. Something to think about as a parent, a teacher, a coach, or as a person in a higher authority when you were growing up, ever made you feel you're not good enough? Has getting older and the aging process been harder on you than others around you? Well, Elsa and I are going to talk to that topic. Let me bring her up. Hello and welcome. Thanks for being a guest on today's show.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm excited to talk to you today about one of our favorite topics.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, at the top of where am I over here? It says mental fitness. It used to say mindset. And what I like about mental fitness is it's actually developing this thing inside our skull, right? Which is it's connected to mindset. But mindset is so broad and ambiguous. Mental fitness is more specific. It's like developing a bicep, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's the one thing that, and I think the reason why I really like the analogy to physical fitness is we all know we need to do it.
Yes.
Right? And so many of us just don't necessarily take the necessary time.
Yeah, and we have all the reasons why not to do it, right?
Exactly. And yet, once we start doing it, the impact is so significant, even if it's just a tiny little step. Walk those extra 10 steps to the grocery store from the parking lot. It really starts with those incremental, extremely tiny habits that builds up a mountain of changes in your life.
Yeah. I was just thinking about walking up the hill to the grocery store. I've done that. And it's the stories we tell ourselves why we can't or why we should have that extra bit of ice cream, right?
Mm-hmm.
If we're on a mission to drop some weight maybe, and we love ice cream, our saboteurs will say, it's okay. It won't hurt this time. go ahead, have it. And we sometimes cave to that, right? So that's a weaker mental fitness versus a stronger, highly efficacious mental fitness, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's also, as human beings, we have this mentality of looking at things from a place of sacrifice rather than as a place of gain.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't get that sweet, you know, delicious chocolate ice cream, rather than saying, oh my God, I get to be healthy every single day or, jump out of bed.
Yeah, absolutely. You know where else it shows up? Recently, I've been working on a program. I'm actually probably 75% complete, and I create the content specifically for each week as I'm getting there. And
Hmm.
5 weeks into the program, I had this disempowering talk in my head. My saboteur mind was saying, you know what? They're not getting this. You're not doing a very good job. You might as well just offer to refund part of the money and, go do something you really like. So I didn't do that. I dealt with my saboteurs because we have ways to do that. And what was great was the next day was I got an unsolicited email from one of the participants
Hmm.
and saying, I haven't been able to do 100 success lists. That's one of the projects I get everybody I coach to do.
Uh-huh.
I got 21 done, and it says, wow, I just in doing this small number, it's made a difference in my life. And I'm going through this life challenge and looking at 20 things that I've done in the past that I was passionate about. It helped me remind me about who I is and what I want to be. We're only 5 weeks in. This course is amazing. So then I got to say, listen to that, you judging saboteur. You don't know the truth, right?
But isn't that amazing, though, that we are so good at talking ourselves out of things?
Yeah.
And the interesting thing is that even though when we work on our saboteurs, it's very much an internal, battle or an internal conflict that we're experiencing. But we always are looking at the outside for that validation in what we're doing. And
Yeah.
sometimes we can't say, well, I know this thing works, like your program. I know it works if somebody takes action. And that's the little thing, is we don't know if people are going to take that action. And
Yeah.
unless they do it, it's never going to work, right? But we still we blame ourselves for their inaction.
Yeah. Jim Rohn. Are you familiar with Jim Rohn's teachings?
Yes. Yeah.
He's got a lot of quotes, but the one that we're relevant to what we're talking about, he says you can hire somebody to do your uh, push-ups or your sit-ups, but you won't get the benefit, right? And then he also
Exactly.
said that if eating an apple a day or walking around the block every day is a good thing to do, why don't you do it? And he says it's easy to do, and why don't you do it? Well, it's easy not to do.
Yeah.
And cramming for an exam, kind of eating all those apples or walking the equivalent of around the block, say it's, I don't know, it's 30 blocks per month, and you do it in one day. If you're not in shape to do that, it's more harmful. If you're eating 30 apples to think that's going to give you health, it's not, because
Mm,
you're overcompensating. It just takes small incremental improvements, right,
yeah.
to build up that muscle. Like the mental fitness thing that we're talking about here is
Yeah.
how many of us could lift 500 pounds over our head at your healthiest state without actually working up to it? None of us, I don't think. It'd be a rare beast that could do that. So we take smaller weights and repetition, right?
Mm, exactly. Because otherwise you end up in that place of crash and burn.
Yeah. So what got you into this modality of coaching, teaching, supporting, and helping other people?
Well, what really got me into it was a friend. I've been coaching for a while, and I had gone through, the different certifications on other neuro modalities.
Hmm.
And, a trusted coaching friend says, you got to check this out. So on his word, I trusted him and saying, okay, this was because the way, as you know, we are being introduced to this is we are required to go through the full 6-week program. We can't just say, okay, I'm going to learn this in theory, just like you said with Jim Rohn. It's like you have to do it. You have to go do the sit up and do the crunches in order to get the benefits. So I said, okay, let me try it out. And it was profound for me, exactly from that point of saying, really raising my awareness to where was I self-sabotaging? What was it really, that voice in my own head, and being able to put a name to it and saying, even though that when we talk about these saboteurs, they are rooted in some of our highest qualities, it's when we get hijacked that the motivation comes from that totally different point. And I became aware of that so significantly. And then I said, there's so much simplicity behind this, that it's like you mentioned before, it's that not even a 5-pound weight, it's a 3-pound weight that you start with.
Right.
And I was like, all these other things that I had learned was now being pulled into this package or this way of being in such a simplified way that I said, my clients got to know about this. And that's why I really dug deep into it. And I'm a practicer of it myself every single day. I do my PQ reps, which you know what it is. It's our little tiny exercises, our half-pound weights, that we use several times a day, simply because I know the impact when you're able to get out of your own way, get out of your own head, and really see what's in front of you.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things, and it's not that what we've been exposed to, from my viewpoint, is really earth-shattering, brand new stuff. There are some twists and tweaks of other things that I've learned, and as you said, it's a really simple process to to actually implement and make happen. And it's easy to do and it's easy not to do. So it depends on what you're trying to do. One of the things that I learned in the late 70s was from a mentor. He talked about change happens in one of two ways, or a combination of. And the first one is sudden impact, loss of health, loss of love, loss of finance, loss of job, loss of whatever it is, right? And that sometimes is the catalyst that people need to think they need to make the change happen. It's certainly a wake-up call, but we don't have to wait until we got to that place, that rock bottom. We could recognize maybe we're on a downward spiral, or we're not growing to where we like to, and deliberately make change happen by constant spaced repetition. And that was the other aspect this mentor said. So there's this way, or constant spaced repetition. And what we're talking about is small incremental changes on a consistent basis makes huge, massive change happen. It's almost automatic. It's not really, but it kind of is when you get the bigger result. And there's a really interesting book that I also like. I'm looking over there. I have glasses and I'm thinking I can read my library that's over there. I guess I should just look in my head. It's written by a fellow by the name of Jeff Olson. And you can tell when you read the book, he was influenced by Jim Rohn, but it's called A Slight Edge. It's a brilliant book on the 1% rule. And really the 1% rule is kind of what we're teaching with the mental fitness, is to do small things on a regular basis that will change and quiet your saboteurs. They don't ever go away, but we can diffuse them, and we can develop our sages, which is the language we use under the modality that we're talking about today. And it works.
Yeah, it does. And, another book that I, this really supported is James Clear's Atomic Habits, right? That is the 1% rule, plus the compound effect. It's that thing, the long-term game. It is not eating that apple today or going for the bowl of ice cream, because we don't see the immediate effect.
Right.
But it's that build, like you just mentioned, it's that building upon it. Because if I do today just one thing 1% better, I'm exponentially 360% better by the end of the year. If I I come from a finance background. If you start talking compound interest, it's exponential.
Yeah. And the very first story, I think it's even before the first chapter, it's kind of like the forward or after forward, or So I can't remember what they called it. But there's an anecdotal story in there about a father who's passing away, and he has two sons, and he gets to talk to them before he dies, and he
Yeah.
wants to give them $1 million.
Yeah.
So he gives them a choice. Do you want $1 million in one lump sum, or do you want a penny a day that doubles every day to your point of compound? So the
Yeah.
one son takes the million and the other one takes a penny. And without spoiling the story, it supports what you're just saying there. So I would
Yeah.
recommend people that want to know what the story is, go read the book. But it was really leveraging what you just said. It's the massive change that one has by doing the small incremental steps. And you hear the other side of having the instantaneous gratification, like winning a lottery. If we don't change our self-image and self-concept, there's not very many people that have a change that's that rapid that can live into the change. There's some horrible stories about, it's not me because I've not won the lottery, where they've had the money and they've done all of these things based on their saboteurs inside themselves, their self-image, their self-concept, and they've overextended, and they end up in a place where they're worse off. And there's stories about how they wish they had never won.
Yeah.
So
I
until we
think they,
right?
yeah, I think they say over 70% of lottery winners, 3 years out, they're back where they started.
Yeah.
Even when it's significant money, because you don't alter your state of mind when you get that kind of money.
Yeah.
And you either spend them from that current state of mind, or you just don't have the ability to really see what the impact is on yourself. And it's not a judgment, it's a matter of fact.
Well, it is. One of my things that was described to me, we have this thing called our isness, which is the same as our self-image. So we act in accordance as we act not in accordance as the truth is, but how we perceive it to be. So if we get a lump sum, even if not even winning a lottery, if you're in sales or you're an entrepreneur and you make more money than you've ever made before, you'll do things to sabotage yourself to bring you back to where you unconsciously see yourself to be.
Yeah.
And on the other token is if you're not where you should be financially based on how you believe yourself to be, you'll do things to get there. It could be getting a second job. It could be getting a third job. Those are strategies, but maybe there's another way. Maybe you could learn more. Maybe you could build up your efficacy so you get more stuff done. So we self-regulate. And one of the best ways I've heard it explained, Elsa, is we all know what a thermostat is and what it does. If we have AC and a heating system, we have a set point, say 68 degrees to 72, and we're happy in that space. If it goes beyond 72, the air conditioning kicks on, brings it back to 70 in that range. And if you go to below that, the furnace kicks on to bring up the heat. Well, we self-regulate just like that with the set points we've set, how we see ourselves to be, our self-image, who we are, our isness. And I work in the HVAC space with HVAC contractors and distributors. And when I told that story, they said, wow, you really understand our business. I don't, not as well as they do. But it's a dead zone. Is in that range, 68 to 72 is our dead zone. It's where we settle for mediocrity. So if we want to expand with purpose, we must change how we see ourselves. And saboteurs keep us in our isness. That's what their job is.
Yeah.
So, but the good news is there's ways out of that, and there's some fun ways, right? We could play the yes and game. That's a lot of fun.
It is. And it's a fun way that I'm doing it actually personally is I have this year challenged myself to take improv classes, which is it's based on the yes and principle.
Yes,
right?
it is.
And the thing that we talk about in improv is moving the scene forward. And that's why you do the yes and game. Because if you go into a scene and your partner says, hey, Dad, and you're a woman like myself, guess what? Now you're a dad, right? And you have to accept that role in the scene. And what that does is it pulls you to this next level, so instead of the scene of saying, I'm not your dad, I could say, yeah, what do you think of my gender change surgery? Where people are like, you throw people off, but it forces you to think about yourself in a new way.
Yeah.
And when we in peak, in the positive intelligence world talk about the yes and, it is that building of, I have this idea. Oh, what else could you do? What else could you do? Oh, let's think about this. Because one of the things that happened too is, first of all, we have this internal argument saying, oh, you can't do this because, where you then, if you turn that around just on its head there and say, yeah, maybe you could do this and you could do this. That's why it becomes so powerful.
Yeah. You can even change it into, what if I could do this?
Yeah.
Right? Instead of, why can't I do that? I can't do that. Talking saboteur versus our sage mindset. That's a really powerful thing. So are you just started into the improv world?
Yes, I am, this year. And it came from a challenge for myself for 2022. I'm not necessarily the person that does resolutions, but I put challenges on myself for the year.
Cool.
And for me, it was allowing myself to completely suck at something.
Yeah.
And I was like, what better way to do that? And totally pull me out of my comfort zone.
Yeah, we'll do that. I know firsthand because I'm actually not a professional improver for entertainment purposes, but was on my bucket list for a long time. And I finally got off my butt and did it about 6 or 7 years ago. And I've participated in two improv classes with two different instructors with the same group of performers, essentially, the same theater. One of them was, believe it or not, I used to be in a rock band. So when I parted my hair in the middle and it was down to here, and I was a few pounds lighter as well. But life, evolves. And anyway, one of our band members, he was a vocalist and a harmonica player, but his passion was the theater and acting. Anyway, it turns out later on in life, because he left the band, and I see his name is the main curator for this company in where I live. And so I eventually got to go and have a improv session class with him. And it's interesting. It does get you to show up and say yes to life. You develop this mental, before I was introduced to PQ, I was doing these sort of kind of things because of improv, and it gets you to say yes to life. It develops your yes muscle, because as you were saying, if somebody says no, it kills the humor and the audience gets frustrated and they tend to leave. Even if it's not physically, emotionally, mentally, they're gone. So improv has to be, yes, let's take a trip to the mountains and go ride bears. Yes, let's do that. Should we ride a bicycle or drive or get a Greyhound bus?
Yeah, and let's bring some, munchies. And the other thing that it does, that I have noticed just in the short period of time that I've done, it actually expanded my effectiveness as a coach.
Oh, absolutely.
Because when you are in improv, you got to get out of your head. You got to pay 110% attention to what your scene partner is doing. Because otherwise you can also kill the scene. If you're so much in your head and thinking, what am I going to say next? What am I going to say next? You never get there.
Have they done this kind of, well, going off topic? Who would have thought we're going to talk about improv? But I love this subject. Have they played the S game? Have you played that one yet?
Not to my knowledge, but it could be called something different.
Oh, no, well, it might be called something different, but one of the things you do with the S game is you start off and say, if you say, yes, what I like about that, you're out. You got to take a seat and somebody jumps in and carries the story on. So anytime we say a word with S in it, you're eliminated and you go sit down and somebody takes your space and you continue the story with different performers. It's a lot of fun too.
No, we have not played that one. We've played a lot of different ones, but it's.
Have you done the one where you're talking one mind, one mouth?
Yes.
That's hard. Like we could demonstrate that right now if you want.
Sure.
We say this together though, right? One
yes.
voice. You gotta get
yes.
Right? It's hard to do.
Yes.
Maybe it's not fair to do it openly, but
I assume it's a little different too.
yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, usually you have you're kind of close to each other, and
Yeah.
maybe arms are around each other's shoulder, and yeah, it's a lot of fun. If you haven't done improv, I highly recommend it because it's a
Me
very
too.
positive way to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And if you
Yeah.
can when you get to that state, you're liable to take on more challenges in a more open and looking forward to way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of my favorite games that we have played, to just sort of wrap up that loop, is it's I don't know if you're familiar with String of Pearls, where you have like 6 people on stage, and the first one comes up with a statement,
Mm,
and the last person comes up with a statement, and they're totally unrelated.
mm.
And the people in between have to build on the story so the end scene actually makes sense.
No, I've not done. That sounds like a lot of fun.
So the one that I remember it so distinctly, the very first time we did it, the first one was I was going to bake I'm a master baker. That was what the first person came up with. And then the last person was, and this is how I got banned from Wendy's forever. And between, scene partner 1 to scene partner 6, it actually, the story made sense. And
That's
it was
cool.
just so fun getting that thought of saying, okay, how can I go from a master baker to being banned from Wendy's? And I think going back to mental fitness it's that ability to say, this does not make sense at all. How can I make sense of what's right in front of me? Or how can I make sense of my own brain? How can I make sense of me constantly running in against the same challenge and, just not getting a resolution to it?
Right. So if we were to wrap around and come full circle to the headline of today's show episode, how to know if you are sabotaging your success, I think it's by the language we're saying to ourselves. Is it serving and supporting us and moving us forward with possibility, or is it the flip side? Is it taking us away, keeping us stuck in our isness, our habitual thinking, our paradigm, however we want to talk about that? What else would you add to that?
Oh, absolutely. And I think it's also part of it is our afraidness. I know that's not our scariness, the scariness of what could be. A lot of people are, so comfortable in saying, at least I know this. I don't want to step beyond this because I'm stretching myself, or I have to leave people behind, or I think I have to leave people behind. I'm an immigrant, and I know that when you have maybe a family culture or a culture where you see yourself, it can be very scary to step into a new role. Just like we talk about the lottery winners, right?
Yeah.
That I know it's part of the isness, but it's also just that thinking of saying, is this really possible? Believing in the possibilities.
Yeah, really good point. I just got my eyeball on the clock here, and I did promise to share some stuff with people about you, and this is kind of one of the things. This is your Facebook, not I got the wrong URL up there, but that's okay. Let's go to the right one. I'll bring the right image up. There we go. So this is your LinkedIn page, and this is where they could connect with you if they're feeling compelled to do that.
Yes.
Easy to get there. Become friends with you, or connections on LinkedIn and friends on Facebook.
Yes.
I don't have your banner up for Facebook, but I'll bring it up here and navigate here a little bit. And on here, it is basically look for Elsa Johnson, and you can find her there. I did it this morning.
Yeah.
I finally made her officially a friend on Facebook. We were friends before that, but not on Facebook. So those are a couple of places that you can go and find her to get connected. We could go on with this topic for quite a while. I know I have a lot of stories and anecdotal messages that we could share, but I try to keep this to 30 minutes ish. So I'm going to ask you if there's one last nugget to help people stop sabotaging their success.
The one nugget that I can give everybody is start to notice your patterns.
That's brilliant.
Just start simply recognizing, what am I really doing?
Yeah, I like that. And one of the ways I've done that in the past and still do it is journaling, and go back and look at what I've written over the course of 30 days, and it identifies what my thoughts are, and I can decide, are they serving or harming? And then I get to choose, do I want to continue doing that, or do I want to improve upon it? So I thank you for that brilliant insight. It's so simple and easy to do. So thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And you're very welcome. Well, here we are at the end of the Business Renovator for another time. If you liked what you heard, shoot us a note, get connected to us. And if you know somebody like an Elsa that has a story that you think would be, the world should hear her message, his message, their message, let them know, make an introduction. That's what this is all about, is helping people with their sales, marketing, and mental fitness or mindset. Before we go, though, I want to do this. The you is representing you and your uniqueness. What I encourage you to do is to go act like yourself. You are wonderful and you are unique. Continue being it. Until next time, I'm Coach Phil. We'll see you on another episode of the Business Renovator.
I get shit done, I have fun. It's my time and I'm the one. I'm breaking through.